All right, so when you hear the words ag class, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Tractors? Hay bales? Well, you might want to think again. Today, we're going to dive into the surprisingly high-tech and career-focused world of the Jasper High School agriculture program, and you might just find your future here.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to bust some old school myths about what modern ag really is. Then we'll get into the fun stuff. 3 totally different pathways you can follow depending on what you're into. And finally, we'll connect all the dots and see how these classes can launch you into a real deal career.
Okay, let's kick things off. Before we jump into all the cool courses and opportunities, we've got to get on the same page. What does a modern agriculture program actually look like today? Because it's probably not what you're thinking.
Seriously, take a second. When I say ag class, what's that first image that pops into your head? A big red barn? A tractor out in a field? Okay, got it? Good. Hold on to that thought, because we're about to see how close you are.
Yeah, if you were picturing those old school stereotypes, hey, you're not alone. But the reality today, it's huge. We're talking about real science, cool technology, learning how to run a business, getting your hands dirty with mechanics, and even managing our natural resources. It's way more than just farming. So how do you get into this world? It all starts with one class, Principles of Agriculture. You can think of this as your gateway, your all-access pass to everything else. It's the foundation that unlocks all the other amazing ag classes.
And this one class is packed. You get a taste of everything, from soil science to animal science. But look, the real perks are huge. First, it's your ticket to join FFA. That's the Future Farmers of America, which is an awesome leadership organization. And get this, you earn 3 dual college credits right out of the gate. No matter which path you end up choosing, this is where you build your foundation.
Okay, so once you've got that foundation down, it's time to choose your adventure. Let's kick it off with our first pathway. This one is for all you makers and mechanics out there, anyone who loves to build, to tinker, and just figure out how stuff works.
I mean, this quote really nails it. If you're that person who's always asking, how's that made, or how does that work, if you take things apart just to see what's inside, yeah, you're going to feel right at home here.
In this pathway, you've got 2 awesome choices. On one hand, there's ag power and technology. That's all about how things work. You're diving into electricity, small engines, and listen to this, it's worth 6 dual college credits. 6. Then you've got ag structure and fabrication. This is about how things are made. Think construction, plumbing, concrete, and yep, even welding. It's a great way to see what you enjoy more.
All right, but what if you're less about engines and more about, well, ecosystems? Let's switch gears and talk about the pathway for the growers and stewards, anyone who's passionate about plants, nature, and the environment.
And there's a ton of variety here. You could focus on plant science with horticulture, you could get into some really high-tech indoor growing, or you could go big and learn how to manage entire forests and the wildlife in them. Let's zoom in on a couple of these, because they're pretty cool. Okay, check out how the forestry and wildlife course is set up. It's basically 2 classes in one awesome package. The first semester is all about the forestry side. You're learning to identify trees, how timber production works, all that stuff. Then, in the second semester, you pivot to wildlife, looking at animal populations, their habitats, and how we can preserve them. And if you want to peek at the future of food, the greenhouse course is where it's at. This is not your grandma's garden. We're talking about growing plants and food without any soil at all, using systems like hydroponics and aquaponics. This is some serious high-tech stuff. Oh, and here's a key detail you're gonna love. A lot of these classes aren't just fun electives. They can actually count as a high school science credit. That's right, you get to study something you're genuinely into, and it checks off a box you need for graduation. That is a total win-win. All right, let's move on. If you're the person who's always loved animals, maybe even dreamed of becoming a vet, well, this next pathway is for you. Welcome to the Animal Experts. The main animal science course gives you a huge overview. You'll get into the nitty-gritty science of things like nutrition and genetics, but you'll also get to study all kinds of different animals. We're talking beef cattle, poultry, and even dogs. It's a fantastic, all-around look at the animal world. But what if you're ready to go deeper? If you are really serious about a career in something like veterinary science, then there's a class for you, ALS, which stands for Advanced Life Science, Animals.
This is where you really level up. And trust me, when they say advanced, they are not kidding. We're talking about life at the cellular level, digging into organ systems, genetics, evolution. This is a tough, biology-focused course designed to get you ready for what you'll face in college.
Okay, so we've talked about all these incredible classes, but the big question is, where does it all lead? How does this stuff help you in the real world? Well, that's what this final section is all about, connecting the classroom to your future career.
See, the whole program is laid out like a roadmap. You start with principles of ag. Then you take a couple of courses in the pathway that interest you most. And it all builds up to this final, really important class, the agribusiness capstone. The capstone is where it all comes together. You take everything you've learned about plants or animals or mechanics, and you start looking at the business side of it. We're talking accounting, marketing, the works. And the best part? You'll get real-world experience through an internship in your chosen area.
And the hands-on learning doesn't just stop there. There's also something called an SAE, or Supervised Agricultural Experience. This is so cool. You can actually get school credit for a summer job you have, or even for chores you do at home, as long as it's related to agriculture. Real work for real credit.
And let's not forget maybe the biggest perk of all, getting a massive head start on college. We mentioned the 3 credits from the principal's course. You can get another 3 from animal science, and an incredible 6 credits from Ag, Power, and Tech. I mean, do the math. You could knock out an entire semester of college while you're still in high school. That is a game changer.
So whether you're into engineering, environmental science, business, or biology, there is a place for you in the Jasper Ag program. It's about so much more than farming. It's about your future. So the only question left to ask is, which path is yours?